Reddit, what's your family's we could have been rich story? When Subway was just starting to become known to the general public, my parents were offered to get into the business for a very cheap price. They turned it down because they wanted to take me, was about 6 at the time, to Myrtle Beach instead that summer. Was not worth it. My grandfather helped with construction on Disney World. He was offered either stock or a lump sum. They didn't particularly need the money, but my grandmother wanted to order something expensive out of a catalog, so they took the cash. Thanks, Grandma. I don't know which of the hundreds of useless, never used knickknacks it was, but I'm sure it was well worth the millions your stock would have been worth today. Parents almost bought a house in London back in the 70s. London house prices are an absolute national scandal, quite frankly. Economics, my friend. Supply is low. Demand is high, and London can't just make more as it's built. On clay, making high-rise buildings unsafe and hard to insure and mortgage. And similarly is limited in size by the M25 and transport links outside of the tube system. Everyone wants to be in the middle, so prices go up. My now deceased grandfather was approached by the makers of Trivial Pursuit before they had made the game who he worked with, and they asked him for $1,000 as an investment. He said nope. My grandmother then proceeded to tell him that he should have invested. That didn't change his mind. Damn it, Grandpa. Two brothers owned a lot of oil land, that is land with oil in it. One of them did not think there was any future in oil and sold his share to the other. Guess which one and descended from? Here is a hint: I have to work for a living. Back in the late 90s, early 00s, my dad thought that internet was going to be a huge cash cow, and wanted to quit his job to design what are basically the tube sites of today. My mom was like, we have to kids in elementary school, WTF, so he didn't do it. Your dad sounds like a forward thinker. He started small by uploading that honeymoon video he made with your mother. And now his mother has a dedicated category, BBW. My great-grandfather owned a small soda company in NYC. Coca-Cola offered to incorporate it into their business. He said no because he wanted to keep it a family business. My family was descended from high-ranking government officials in the Qing dynasty. My great-grandparents owned multiple houses in the center of Beijing. There were chests filled with gold and jade in our houses. Then the Cultural Revolution hit and everything was taken away. Out of fear, my great-uncle dumped chests full of gold in the nearby river. Relative of mine was once offered an opportunity to invest in a coffee shop chain, back when they were about to expand into my country. When he saw the prices, he asked who was going to pay $10 for a cup of coffee. Turns out a lot of people like Starbucks. Similar story here. My dad is an okay investor, but he has a hard time understanding market shifts or disruptive technology. He considered Facebook and YouTube a fad, though Facebook didn't really have a compelling IPO. Talked my poor uncle out of investing in Netflix because people would always want to hold tangible things. Avoided Google like the plague, missed the boat on Apple, and thought that Subway would be a colossal failure because people love hamburgers. I wouldn't exactly say he's an okay investor if he actually missed all of those opportunities. My parents always tell me that they would have been rich if they didn't have my brothers and me. My great-grandparents moved to Australia. We live in the UK and bought a silver mine and land for a banana plantation. One year the banana plantation failed and all the money from the silver mine was put into the next year's crops. Next year the crops failed again and they were broke. They sold the land of the banana plantation to raise funds to get back to the UK where my granddad grew up. To this day the silver mine still technically belongs to us, as it was never sold and the family name has stayed the same. The unfortunate thing is we have virtually no idea where in Australia it is. And Australia is pretty huge. We know that it is near Brisbane. That's about it. If we magic up some paperwork, we could possibly find the mine and run a really profitable business. But we can't. To be honest, this is just the story I've been told my whole life by my family. It could be complete and utter. This is what happened to my father, albeit before I was born, so had this happened, I probably wouldn't exist today. Instead of money, my father got the richness of me and my brother. My dad used to be a manager for Rent-A-Center in the 70s. He was good at it too. He managed a tough store in South Boston, the war zone. He has tons of crazy stories about being held at gunpoint, having a hit placed on him by someone he fired, etc. But one day he told me this and my jaw dropped. One day after work, he gets visited by a local general manager of supply stores, nothing big. This guy comes in and says, "So I've heard about you, and I wanted to talk to you about an opportunity. I'm planning on opening a new store for office supplies and need a good manager to start with. I can't pay you what you make now, but we'll give you a % and raises as the company grows." My dad is in his 20s, making $60K, which is a lot of money back then. He tells the guy he just can't walk away from what he has and can't take that chance. That man that spoke to my father, Thomas Stenberg, co-founder of Staples. Imagine what even the % of that could have been. Oh well, now he's got us. Father turns down opportunity to be first manager with party of the company, of what would become Staples. Woulda, coulda, shoulda. My dad, not long after my parents divorced, got 5 out of 6 numbers on the lottery. He chose number 44 and the number picked was 45. He got £50,000. But it was so close to so much more. Would have been a massive heart to you to my mom at the time. When I was in college, I was working for UPS before they went public, so back in like 96 to 0 anyway. I had worked there long enough that I was eligible for buying stock before. It was offered publicly and at a huge discount. My parents and I talked and agreed they would lend me $75K to buy as much stock as I could get with that amount. Then after it went public, pay them back the money with a tip and the rest would be mine for school, home, car, whatever. Well, they drug their feet on it and I missed the boat. There were employees that made so much money they quit on the spot the day it went public. I have never done the calculations, but I am sure I missed out on at least 100 to 500K. Edit, I sorta did the math. I think they were offering shares for $10 bucks. So that would equal 7,500 shares. The opening price that day after doing some research was $50 a share IPO, but traded immediately at $65 a share. So I would have had $187,000 at the opening bell. As of today, it is trading at 100 to 0.0 per share, so today I would have 765,000. My dad owned IBM stock approximately 500 shares back in the 70s. He sold it when he doubled his money. Asterisk edited for too many zeros. My aunt had to decide between getting a job waitressing that would pay very well up front, or being the personal secretary for a new Seattle tech startup CEO that would have stock options later down the road. She needed money right then, so she picked the waitressing job. She could have been Bill Gates' first secretary. Back in the 2006-ish, in the height of the Iraq War, my dad got a tip that there were a bunch of people, soldiers especially, converting their money to Iraqi money because once the US pulled out, their economy would skyrocket and their money would be close to what the US dollar is, so he exchanged $500 USD for $500,000 IQD. Today, that $500,000 IQD is worth $129.93 United States dollars. Now it's in a safe just collecting dust. Every once in a while he brings it out and says, "Man, I could move to Iraq and be a half a millionaire." I guess he still has hopes that it's going to make a comeback, but for now it's just a novelty for him. Dad invested Iraqi money when it was really low to the US dollar, hoping it would bounce back. It's even lower now. I remember holding out on buying some bitcoins because the price had just jumped from till to dollars to tilt for dollars. I thought that I'll wait till it comes back down. It never did. Thanks for watching. Share your stories in the comments.